Here we go. It is time for another sprint zone. This one for 7/22/2025. And you might notice that the camera view is a little bit different. I had a little incident with my 360 camera where it got wet, actually submerged in a river. And when I went to pull the battery out, the battery was swelled up and such. I didn't have a new battery to put in it and the camera wasn't dry. So I just pulled out the old GoPro and it is what it is. At this time, I'd also like to thank Mr. Ron Kennedy for his view, and you'll see the Ron cam in the upper left-hand corner of the screen there, and you see yours truly in the old school kit just ahead of Ron. And it looks like might be a little bit of wind out of the right shoulder, or at least my hair is going that direction, so maybe that's the case, or I need to straighten my hair up. In any case, life is good, sitting in for the most part, not wanting to get the party started too early. And this week, I wasn't going to go to the front and get anything started. Like last week, I did that. Probably weeks before I did that. People just follow. So it's my turn to kind of sit in. Kind of nice looking at my form. I don't see it very often. I got a lot of upper body movement here. Probably need to do some core exercises because my body's rocking a lot more than Joel's next to mine. Ben up front, riding strong. And of course, I'd like to thank him, Mr. Ben Nelson, for his telemetry. It's always nice to have that. Ron Kennedy for his telemetry. And I didn't have my power meter pedals on. I had left them on the gravel bike because I had done the Foco Fondo the previous weekend, and I hadn't switched them over yet. In any case, back to the action. So it looks like Danny has gone up the road, a rare move for him, which is kind of cool. Nice to see him getting the party started, but no alarm bells went off. And this perhaps is a sign of lack of respect. It's like, okay, the same amount of respect that I get. Steve goes off the front or Danny goes off the front, and there's no reason for concern, especially when we have Mr. Ben Nelson, the local legend, TTH God amongst us. In any case, we start to bring people back, and you look at Ben's power, 30-second, 227, instantaneous in the low 200s. So it's about go time. And I need to get closer to the front here. I don't want to be caught back. And Ben is a good wheel, even though his slight form doesn't provide the best draft. It is, in fact, still a draft. Danny working hard up front, and you can see everybody's relaxed. My heart rate is at 158. And this could be an indication that maybe the COVID days are somewhat over, as my heart rate seems to be back where I think it is. I need to find a more deterministic scenario to actually make that comparison, but it is a possibility. Looking strong there. Danny's still at the front. Joel, who has been spending a lot of time running, isn't one to go to the front just yet. And I'm not one to go to the front just yet either. Because even sitting like second wheel, you do not get the same amount of draft. And there's a good shot of Ron, Greg, and Curtis there, strolling in really nicely. And I'm going to slot in behind. We see Kathy Ziti there from the Fort Collins Cycling Club in her tri kit. Nice, is that mauve or whatever that color is, sleeveless there. A little bit baggy. It's a little bit going to create some drag there. I should probably talk to her about that. But she's as fast as she is, not a worry, but a more slim fitting. And you look at Ben Nelson there or Curtis, some of the other jerseys, that stuff fits tight and it's a little more aerodynamic, but I'm certain that is probably not her goal. In any case, there was an attack up the road here, and it is my turn to actually go cover this one. Kathy is on it. I'm on Kathy. It looks like who's up front? Oh, it's Steve Mastid followed by Ron, and I need to slot in here right behind Danny. Not that Kathy was not doing a good job, but there was like a bike length in between there, and the draft of these three is a lot better than the draft of her because of that gap. So I'm like, I need to be on it because this is a dangerous move. Yeah, I know. Ben Nelson is behind me. So we know none of these people are getting away. But nevertheless, I need to keep people honest, and I think this was a good move. Looking at my heart rate, 166, and this is where my typical heart rate is when I'm near threshold. and hopefully it'll stay that way for most of it. Definitely, like I said before, need to do a deterministic comparison to see if my heart rate has recovered from the January bout of COVID there. And you can notice that, yeah, this view has my Garmin there, and you can see the time of day. You can see the temperature, 99 degrees. It's a hot one. And yes, the Garmin does actually agree with the heart rate. Oh, it's telling me to drink. That's one of the annoying things about these Garmin things. It's like, okay, you told me to drink. You can get it off the screen faster. Anyway, here we go. Ben Nelson going to the front, or going closer to the front. Kathy on his wheel quite nicely. I'm holding my position. There are others behind me, I think, like Curtis, etc. I'm not certain where those people are. This is the point where I miss having my 360 cam. Looking at the Ron cam, Steve was up the road, very aggressive there. That's kind of cool. Looks like Joel in the striped kit there. Nicely fitting kit, by the way. And he's one of the better area runners. Very strong, just like Ben Nelson. But Ben runs, swims, and rides, and quite well. So I got a good position here. Yeah, and it looks like it must be a little bit of wind coming off of our right shoulder. Very nice echelon. Everyone's riding good. Speed is reasonable, 23 miles per hour. Heart rate 165. I'm pretty happy. Very happy at this point. And especially after having raced on the weekend, I wasn't really certain how much juice I would have. And I'll say that's the same for Ben Nelson. He had achieved a 7th overall in the 60-mile Foco Fondo. Up into the sand pit, he was leading, and then 3 riders got off the front, and he was never able to bring them back and had to sit up and wait for the group. Strong effort by Ben, but he is feeling it a little bit, although you would not know it from his performance today. Ron going to the front, and Kathy is going to cover this one, and this is good. It's good to see the new riders, not afraid to assert themselves and find themselves in a good position. I'm riding back, still riding coattails. Curtis in front of me, things are looking good, nice cadence. My heart rate has indeed increased to the 169. Maybe that's still a little high. Maybe I haven't totally recovered just yet. But anyway, I'm pretty still happy at this point. Kathy looking good, and you can see her in Ron cam in the upper right, taking over the mantle, looking pretty strong, nice tempo. Maybe a little more to the center of the road than I would have been, maybe for 2 reasons. One, that the car track to the right is a little bit better, like right there. And of course, with the echelon behind her swinging right to left, it'd be better to be as far right as possible, unless you're trying to gutter people. But in any case, just pointing that out, I noticed it. But with the smaller group, not an issue. And everyone is looking pretty strong. I'm just tapping it out here. My heart rate has come back down, and so far it looks like only Ron and Kathy have been willing to do any work at the front. Ron once again taking over, and you can see some of these ne'er-do-wells not wanting to do anything except ride coattails. And you're saying, yeah, Steve, you're riding coattails too. Yeah, I am, but I'm tired and I raced, and I didn't have a power meter, so that's my excuse. In previous weeks, I have put myself out there, but it's my turn to just be the cameraman. Ron's camera looking strong up there, and looking at his wattage, average 32nd, 152. So he is not killing it up there. Instantaneous, though, 280 in the 300s. So there we go. Actually, I think I've got the wrong numbers there. Shit. Oh, well. For some reason, I must have had the wrong field in there, and that is really his heart rate and not his 30-second power. Maybe I'll have to go redo this one, and yeah, I'll have to redo it. Anyway, looking up front, life is good. Kathy and Ron continue trading power, trading pulls up there, and no one willing to go through and help them. Ben sliding back. Curtis still riding coattails with not even a hint of wanting to go to the front. And I know how strong Curtis is in the red. I've ridden OCR with him, and he is indeed capable of pulling his share of the load. But for some reason, people just don't want to work. And that's unfortunate. So I have a little chat with Ben. Ben's like, hey, you want to go? I'm like, yeah, I'll go. Because Ben offered to pull me to the line. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to attack my buddy Ron here. So Ron is there, sees us coming through. Ben's pulling strong. Now my heart rate's up to 171. Ben's power looks really good. 400 plus watts at times there. Very, very, very strong. 30-second, 380. Look at that. He's tapping it out. He's so kind to look back to make certain I am still there. Now my heart rate's like 177, and I'm not feeling too bad, but I know I'm not long for this earth as I'm all over my machine. Good view of me there as Ron was able to pull into the third position, and this is actually lame of the other people. I'm like, Ron was up front. Why did Ron have to cover that move? Yeah, I'm like, what is up with that? Weak, weak, weak. You know, I don't want to use the NPC label, but I might have to use the NPC label here. Anyway, Ben tapping out a good tempo, and it looks like maybe Ron is gonna think about coming around here. And then Ben throws the hammer down. My heart rate's up to 182, and as I begin to like ram and thump, Ben moves over to see if anybody wants to sprint by. And my thought was, yeah, I would like to sprint by, but warp drive is at maximum. Dilithium crystals are about to fracture. If I could just hang on here and maybe hold Ben's wheel, but look at it, look at that power. 30-second power over 450 as he rides me off his wheel. And luckily, I actually held on for second, which, after both of us racing, I think that's actually pretty good. And we were able to dispatch Ron. That was actually impressive. Now, Curtis, he's right behind me and he's like, yeah, I didn't do any work, so I didn't feel that it was right for me to come around. That might just be like a punk ass excuse. I'm not certain you could have come around. And if you tried, I might have had a little something for you. Because I think I can get my heart rate up to 184. So, like Eddie Merck says, no gifts. No gifts. And with that, a good time was, in fact, had by all. Anyway, good times, good shot of the Ron camera, and until next time, peace out, everyone.